I think we're going to have a new rule this podcast, okay? Every time I say the word like, I'm going to start drinking. Does that work? Because I say it so damn much.
You're going to need some more beer.
Dude, this whole last weekend, this whole weekend, or actually since we did the podcast a week ago, I've been so conscious of it when I talk, and it's so annoying to me. And I'm like, I stop what I say. I just said like again, but I stop what I say because I don't want to say it. So then I just have this awkward pause, and then I continue my sentence. It's so annoying. This podcast has ruined my natural speech. It's fantastic.
That's awesome.
I never noticed it until you pointed it out, and then I realized that you definitely are a Valley girl.
I'll take it.
When I listen back to the podcast, I realize that I have no idea what I'm saying half the time.
Well, so that's good. Yeah, we're all faking it. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
I think I got that splinter out.
Congratulations.
Like start talking and know what I'm going to say, and then I lose track halfway through the sentence.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I have a brain tumor? Or...
it happens.
So what'd you do this week, Brandon?
Worked all week. And then Thursday and Friday, I was shooting that video of the sandpaper organizer thing.
Yeah, the holder. Yeah.
Sandpaper station is what I called it on the video. But luckily got that out on Saturday. I decided to start releasing videos on Saturday instead of Friday. So I have like a day off to get everything ready if I need to, rather than trying to do it when I get home from work on Thursday at 6. So that helped. Got that out, got the plans done for it this morning. So those are all live now. And I just threw up a little Labor Day sale as well. So
nice.
That was nice. Got a few sales off that. And it was my first time making my own plans in Fusion. So that was different. It was cool to make. Yeah, I just used it for the cut list and like the material layout, and then the tables for like the material list or whatever. But for the rest, I just made like a regular PDF with screenshots from the video and then a description of what to do or what I was doing at that step.
That's cool.
So
at work, have you been doing more metal stuff like welding and things, or are you doing more on the woodworking side?
This week we did mostly wood stuff, but we're making a metal base also for a table. Cool. So it's cool. One thing I did that was pretty cool is where I finished a end table that was like a walnut cookie, but it was like had rotten spots in it or whatever. So I had to finish it with like penetrating epoxy, or start with penetrating epoxy and like fill in all the rotten spots, and then finished it with just like our finish we were talking about last time or the time before. But we moved on. I got that one done. I moved on to another one, and it had a lot of rot right in the center. So I actually cut it out in like the shape of like a lake, basically, and then used the Cuts-All wheel to make like a walk-in kind of thing. So it looks like a lagoon almost. And I think we're gonna like fill the bottom of that with like dark blue epoxy, and then maybe put some river rocks in it, and then just fill it with clear, so it looks like it's like you can see down into it. So hopefully that'll be cool.
That sounds cool. Yeah, it sounds really cool. That's for a client of theirs?
That one we're just doing because we're trying to get some inventory for the showroom. But it could be for a client because we do have one that wants something similar. So we're going to do that and see if they like it or not. We'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you say you release videos every Saturday, you're talking about your YouTube videos?
Yeah, every other Saturday.
So you do it bi-weekly?
Yeah.
Nice. And so you have a certain day you stick to it.
Yeah, I was doing them all on the Fridays, but then, like I said, now since I will have an extra day or a day off to work on them, just to make sure I have enough time this time, because it always seems like I come down to the last second with everything.
You're so consistent.
No fun.
Yeah,
because I try to be,
dude. If I get one out once a month, I feel like a hero. I'm like, oh god, yeah, man, damn it. I
would love to do them once a week, but there's no way.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There are some people we know that do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That do it once a week. That seems very excessive, though.
Right.
Very time consuming
for projects. Yeah.
And
you got to be full time for that almost. I mean, that's
right.
Tough.
Yeah.
I know
I think Bourbon Moth's doing it once a week.
Yeah,
now.
Yeah, I can't even build stuff in a full week, more or less.
Right?
Build something, film it.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And post it.
I'm like, it's better be small projects.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I tried to stay on the bi-weekly schedule and I can't do it. I usually push
Yeah.
into that third week pretty consistently. But I try in my mind to keep the 2 week schedule going. I definitely don't do it any sooner than 2 weeks, because then you really start to get yourself into kind of a jam there when you start getting
Yeah, I
too close
definitely don't
together.
do that. If I get like 2 videos ready, I'll just wait and post it the next time.
Yeah.
That way, because I did that one time. I'm like, oh, I got like 3 videos, and so I posted them like every week,
Mhm.
and then I ended up having to do a bunch of other stuff and didn't get a video out for like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm like, yeah, that figures.
So this is one of your first times working with the Fusion 360, right?
Yeah.
And how did that go as far as designing it on the site and then executing it? Was it as good as you thought it was going to be? As easy? How was that kind of transition?
I wouldn't say it was easy. It's definitely not as easy as SketchUp. It's much harder to learn.
Is it?
And I'm still very much learning. But like that course I took from the Make or Break shop, that really did help quite a bit. And I've been back through it like 4 times into different sections, because he does have a area on there that shows you how to make your own plans, which is nice. So I went back and went through that again. But that's definitely helped a lot. And then, yeah, it's basically like the same thing as SketchUp as far as like seeing it as a rendering and taking the measurements and then going to make it. But it's just a different style of designing, and it's more labor intensive especially when you don't know what you're doing. But once you get it built, then you can go in, as long as you set parameters, like instead of like making something 2 foot long, you can go into the parameters and say this, overall length is 2 feet in the parameter table, and then label that dimension as overall length. And then you can go in later and say like, oh, I want it 6 feet or whatever, and change it, and it'll just automatically resize everything. It resizes
That's
your
cool.
design, your cut list, like your plans, everything gets changed.
That's nice.
It's an awesome.
So I use a
part of it.
program most people don't use, and it's called Shaper 3D, and I use it with my iPad. So I have an iPad and an iPad pencil. It's how I do most of my stuff. I do all my video editing on it. I just love it. Plus, transferring it for Instagram, really easy to post because it's an iOS device, so it's regular Instagram.
Yeah, that's what I struggle with. That with like, people will say, a lot of people that do YouTube, they're like, oh, I just take snippets from my YouTube video and put them on Instagram, and that's where I get my posts from. But I'm horrible with then I gotta go back in and like edit out all these pieces and email them to myself and this and that or whatever.
So being able to
just
do
way
it
more work
straight on the iPad is so simple and easy.
Right.
But Shaper 3D is amazing. It's
I've seen that before.
So much easier than SketchUp and anything else I've tried. And I've never tried Fusion 360, but I've heard it's more confusing. Yeah. So this is
much more
extremely simple. Very user friendly, like most of the Apple software. I love it. I use it all the time, and so I use it for all the plans. I have a bunch of plans available through my partnership with Solo Stove. So those are free DIY plans that I think they're available in my bio. If not, they should be. I use them all the time. I use them once a month for those, and then everything else I build. And it's very simple. But you can't do what you do. I mean, we have cut lists, but it's not the best. So I usually just do it myself, figure out my cut list afterwards. So there's some drawbacks, but actually building and designing it, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason I'm really trying to learn it is because of the renderings look so good. And like the aspect of learning it. And like once you learn it, you can be really efficient with it, but there's a lot to it. But then once you do, you can do like animations and everything. So like if you got a desk that's got drawers in it, or whatever, you can actually make like an animation rendering to where it'll like pull the drawers in and out and show like how it moves and all kinds of stuff. So
that's really cool. Yeah, you can't do any of that.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool. I don't know how to do it, but right. No, it's definitely difficult.
It's really cool, but it's not on the threshold where I'm like, I need to learn a new software. Right. It's not that cool. It's just for me, it's cool enough. But
yeah, well, I want to do it for that, and then like it'll help me out at work too, especially if I get into the CAD part of it to where I can design stuff that it can be cut out on the CNC and things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's definitely my next step with it once I figure out the furniture portion.
I also use a program that a lot of people don't use, and it's called a pen and paper. I use that.
Hey, my buddy I work for, that's all he uses.
It's
Do you
literally
design
the only thing I'd
anything?
use.
He's like, yeah, right here in my brain. And then I
Technology's
write it
hard
down.
for 60-year-olds. Okay, we're all here. We all understand. It all makes sense.
I tried SketchUp. I've never tried Fusion 360. I've never even heard of that program you're talking about, Jesse. I'd actually like to check that out.
If you have an iPad, I would.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But I tried SketchUp. I really tried to dive into it, and it wasn't that it was that hard. I just got frustrated because I was spending so much time behind the computer versus in the shop, and I didn't like that. I felt like I was building the projects twice, and now that I'm getting into more of like trying to get plans together and stuff, I think that I would have a different mindset of it. But when I was trying to learn it, I really wasn't. I was just trying to come up with something different, learn SketchUp, kind of pre-plan for builds. And I didn't really like it. I liked sitting in the shop better with my pen and paper and a ruler and coming up with all my stuff that way. But I'm not against it. I just never really got into it like that.
Right.
And I've always liked drawing and sketching and stuff. I've always been pretty good at it. So I enjoy actually drawing.
Yeah.
So how much do these programs cost? Like Fusion 360?
It's free.
Really?
It is? Really?
Mm-hmm. You get the like personal use one.
Oh,
nice.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I don't know what the professional one entails, but there's like you can't. I don't remember what it is. There's something with it. Sorry.
But you took
dogs whining.
No, you're good.
You took some classes in it though, right?
Yeah. So the Make or Break Shop guy, Brandon, he offers several different classes with it. If you guys are listening and you do want to do that, you can use. Actually, I don't have a code. It's a link. So maybe we could put that in the show notes or something. But you can get 20% off of any of his courses, and they're pretty good. So that's what I did. Yeah, it was a pretty extensive course, so it's gonna take you about 8 to 10 hours, I would assume, to go through it. Yeah,
gotcha.
So
it's very detailed.
The Shaper 3D, they have a free version, like any iOS
I think
app.
I've used that before, or saw somebody using. I don't remember. It just sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I know. You've asked me about it before.
Maybe that's where it was.
Maybe. So they have a free version, but it limits certain tools that you can use, obviously, because they want you to buy the full version.
Right.
I buy the full version because one thing you can't do is color. So the plans I have for that I've done with several partners, it doesn't look good if it's just gray. So, right. So I bought that, and I think it's $160 a year. So it's not horrible, but you still have to pay for it, which is not the best. But I love the ease of it. It's been the world of difference compared to SketchUp for me, especially with the pencil, right? Because you use mostly the Apple Pencil, and I said so. But the Apple Pencil.
Jesse's not going to be able to talk by the end of this podcast.
I know. I said you're going to be hammered.
I pinned myself into a corner, and I'm already one beer down, so I gotta go grab another one. But the Apple Pencil is amazing, and you have to have it for the program. If you don't have it and it's not connected, it won't work. The program just says you can't use it. So it's great though. Anybody have any questions on it, which I do get a lot of questions on it, just message me.
I'll be right back. I'm going to go put this dog inside.
No worries.
So Jesse, how long from start to finish on just a normal project? I know they could vary, but how long would it take you to kind of go through one of those?
Yeah. If it's a normal DIY project, which is what I do my extensive plans on, they're pretty fast. I mean, those aren't being extremely, excuse me, that's what happens when I drink beer. They're not extremely particular. I also designed my parents' bookcase on there. Mm-hmm. That one took me a little longer because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect, precise, and I had all the measurements and all the stuff. But even with me doing the entire design, I'm kind of like you in a sense of I get the design done, but that is more of just an idea of what I want so I can visually see it.
Right.
And then when I actually build it, I have my base cuts where, okay, this is the biggest piece. But then when I start to actually put it together and I'm putting trim pieces on, I measure everything. I don't just assume. I just measure because for some reason something's going to get knocked off, and I trust my measuring tape a lot more than I do program. So I end up usually measuring it. But to design the thing, it only takes me a couple hours, if that. I mean, I've gotten a lot better. So I can go really fast. But at first it took me a little bit longer. So it's like anything. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. So, but
it's inevitable when I'm doing stuff like that I miss something like my measurement for my makeup or, something like that. And I don't know, I draw it out on the paper and I have it all wrote. And then as I'm going along, I do it step by step in what I'm building and filming. And then inevitably I'm erasing something and putting it back or whatever, which I think is kind of why I like the pencil and paper way. But I really do want to get into, I need more plans. I need to be able to do my own plans and stuff. So,
well, it's another revenue stream, right? If you're doing content, it just makes sense. I know Brandon's pretty successful at it. I know a lot of guys. You have quite a few plans available, and even if they're not a ton, there's something coming in. You definitely make your time that you've spent doing the plans back. So that's kind of worth it. I know that Woodshop Mike, he does quite a few plans, and I think they're pretty successful. And Designs by Donnie kills it with plans. And his plans are very, very particular, and they're awesome. So I get that.
I didn't even know I guess I did know.
Yeah.
I can't remember who. I don't think he does his own. But I can't remember who does them. He might. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mike did a couple for me, but
he
won't do them anymore. He's so busy. He said he doesn't have time.
Really?
I kept trying to get him. I'm like, come on. Because he did my assembly table ones. I'm like, these are way more detailed than the ones I do.
Yeah.
Those
I
ones
have one set of plans on my website, and he did them.
Yeah. Those ones have to be pretty successful for you, though, right, Brandon? The outfeed table.
The outfeed table and the drill charging station are definitely the top sellers.
That's interesting. Very two different spectrums, right? So you have your outfeed table, which is very particular, very intermediate, so something that somebody's getting very serious into woodworking. And then you have your drill charging station, which is basically you're just starting out.
That one sells more plans for sure than any of them, the drill charging station. But the table does pretty good too.
Yeah.
I get a lot because some of the stuff on there is not plans. It's like just the SketchUp file. So I'll just put that on there for free. Oh, nice. And I get people downloading those quite a bit.
That's nice. Cool. Yeah, I have a lot of plans on my site, but they're all in like blog form. And, I have like pictures and then I have detailed, description of how, the next step and step by step. But I don't sell them. I just have them on there for people to do. Any video that I do, any build that I do, if I'm not selling the plans, I do one of those kind of blog style form step by steps on them.
Yeah, some of mine are like that. Like the drill charging station one is like that. The cheaper ones are like that, but the ones that are more intricate are definitely like made by somebody else, or like the one I just did, that sandpaper thing. I know that one's not super hard, but I tried to make them a little more detailed than the other ones were. But
no, that's a good concept though. That's a lot of good organization. Sandpaper is awful organization in the shop, and
I really like that.
I watched that video today of yours. It was good.
Thanks.
I literally just throw all my sandpaper into a drawer, and it's
that's what I did. That was the beginning of the video. I'm like, this is my drawer. This is why I'm making this.
It's so bad. I need to be way more organized. I'm so unorganized. Today I cleaned my shop from start to finish. I just went through and cleaned my entire shop, and it needed it. And it seems like every time I blow out my shop with my leaf blower or whatever, I blow it out I just let it sit for 5 minutes and everything's covered in dust again. And so I have to blow it out again. I did it for
takes like 5 times.
Yeah, I did it for like 3 hours going through and just blowing everything and getting it all.
And then you don't want to cut anything else because then it'll be dusty. Yeah,
exactly. And so I reorganized some wood. I have a bunch of white oak plywood still that I'm going to be hopefully jumping into this week and starting to build my parents' next bookcase. So I did it ended up being a little over 10 feet long, the first one. It was basically 2 different bookcases that I was able to attach together to make like one solid piece. But it's a little over 10 feet by 7 feet tall, 7.5 feet tall. It was a big bookcase, big project. This one is going to be 6 feet wide by 3 feet tall, and mostly because I had a bunch of cutoffs from the plywood that were perfect 11 inches and perfect shelf height and all the stuff. And so it made sense for me to not just scrap it, but I can actually use the same dimensions that I used from the first bookcase and make a smaller version for another wall of theirs, but make it match exactly to the other one. So that's what I'll be diving into this week, hopefully. And
fun. I love cabinetry.
well, this one's a bookshelf, right? So it's not quite as it's a little different. And then the way I did, I've talked about it on one of the other episodes, if so you guys can talk. But the way I did the dowels and stuff, I love. So it should be pretty easy. I have all those jigs, so really it's just knowing my dimensions about height, and my width. My depth is already set because I have all my scrap pieces. So it's just height and width, and then just building it. So it should be pretty quick. It should only take me a few days.
Nice.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
talking about dust in your shop, what are you using for dust collection? It's the bane of my existence, by the way. I'm just going to preface with that, and then I'm going to completely unload about it in about 2 seconds after you talk.
I have 2 dust collectors, actually. I have the Harbor Freight one that you start out with, and with a Rockler filter.
Do you like that one?
Well, I mean, it's Harbor Freight.
Is it the 2 horsepower or no?
I don't think so.
Like it's not. Is it the wall mounted one or the other?
No,
one?
it wasn't at first. It is now wall mounted. So,
but it was on a stand.
It was on a stand, and
so that should be the 2 horsepower. Then.
Yeah, probably. I honestly don't.
Well,
remember.
I only asked because somebody messaged me on Instagram and they were like, I have this, and I think they like plumbed their shop with it. He's like, I only have 290s, and he's like, and then at my table saw it has like no suction. I'm like, I have no idea.
I believe it's a 1.5 horsepower, but it could be more. It's only $160. If you're just getting into woodworking, it's a great dust collection, dust collector. It's great because it's cheap and it'll get you by. It'll save you, some time. But I have that, and I actually took it apart and mounted it to the wall and added a Rockler filter to it with, a bag and stuff. Oh, and a dust separator. So that's what I use mostly for my table saw and my joiner because it's bigger and all that. Then I have a 1 horsepower Delta dust collector, and it's their mini. Dude, I love that thing because it's basically takes up the same amount of ground floor as a shop vac, but it's easy to move around. And so I vacuum out my cars with it. I do literally everything with it. It's so easy to move that I hook it up to my bandsaw, I use it to do my drill press, all the whatever I can, my lathe, whatever it is, I just use that. So it's kind of a nice combo, but there's times where I just need to get out there really fast and do one cut. So I just don't worry about my dust collector, and it doesn't. And even regardless, the entire shop gets so dusty. So
right, especially with a bunch of miter saw cuts. No miter saw has good dust collection except maybe the Festool one, but I'm not going to pay that much for a miter saw.
Yeah, so I have the Cruiser, and the Cruiser, that's probably the biggest downfall of the Cruiser is the dust collection.
Pretty sure we all have Cruisers.
Yeah, we all have Cruisers.
Except for Jesse, he's a Cobalt.
He uses like the Harbor Freight. I forget what they're called, Gladiators or something like that.
He was doing one for the shiplap. He was crap. I messaged him. I was like, "Sir, that is not a Delta Cruiser."
I had my Cobalt I have a little, I think it's a 10-inch miter saw, and it was on my Delta stand that when I bought my first Delta Cruiser, when they first came out, it came with a stand for free, and so it's an awesome stand. I think it's incredible. And I'm not going to pick up my big giant Delta Cruiser miter saw and put it on it and take it across the street. I put the little one on there, and he saw a picture of that and just has been giving me crap about
That's funny.
You put it on your stories.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Forget.
But that dust collection that's the only downfall so far. I love that saw, and they are a sponsor. So
I hooked mine directly up to. So I had it in my miter saw station with the box around it, and I had my main dust collection coming up in the bottom, and it wasn't great at all. And then I finally hooked up my shop vac directly to the back of it, and it is so much better.
That's what I've done.
So much better.
It helps a lot. It's still not perfect, and depending on how you cut it, right there, if you set it up so it's locked in the locked position and just cut straight down, it's horrible because it just sprays. But that's every miter saw does this. So if you lock in, you pull it down, and just sprays out the sides. But if you actually come out and bring it towards and actually use the compound, function, it's a lot better because it helps direct.
Yeah, I don't know of any miter saw that's really good at dust collection.
Yeah. I've heard the Capex, is that what it's called?
I'm sure
I've heard that one's good, but you're paying.
It's what they pride themselves on.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying $4.99 for everything for a cruiser compared to a $1,400 saw. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So I mean,
that's ridiculous.
I'll deal with the dust. That's my
The first saw I ever had that I bought was the rigid, and that actually had a pretty good dust collection. Surprisingly, it didn't say straight. So there's that.
That's a downfall. I had the
small problem.
I had the Ryobi, and it was never straight.
Oh, geez.
I built a crosscut sled because I didn't trust my Ryobi ever.
Right.
And so
I still, to this day, it's hard for me to use my miter saw for accurate cuts and not just rough cuts, because forever I used the Harbor Freight one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never right. I mean, you could move it left and right with your hand before you're cutting, so it was never square. I mean, it was a good saw. It lasted me forever because for the price and everything. But for so many years not trusting that, it's still to this day I don't even think about making those accurate cuts with my miter saw. But it does it, and it's very accurate.
Yeah. What'd you do this week, Jesse?
Man, we did shiplap and a lot of painting.
Oh yeah, getting the house kind of in order.
Yeah, getting the houses going. My wife didn't like the color in the living room, so I'm painting it. We're going from a dark color to basically a shade of white. So it took 3 coats. Yeah. And I got about half of the living room and stuff done, and it just took forever.
Coffee Swiss or Swiss coffee?
I don't know what color she got.
The white that's apparently the most some lady at Home Depot, the paint lady that's been there forever. We always talk to her. She said 60% of I have no idea how accurate this is. I don't even know how it can be accurate, but she said 60% of apartments are painted with Swiss coffee, and that's why they have them in a 5-gallon jug already pre-mixed. Because everybody just buys
I've definitely painted several things.
So have we, because it's a nice shade of white, but it's
the vanity is getting painted that color.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice color, especially if you want a white, and it's not just so stark.
It's like off-white.
It's slightly off, but it's not tan either. It's still white.
Right.
So that's we've used.
I actually think that's the color that I do on shiplap and stuff instead of pure white.
It looks
I'm
like
almost 100% sure that is
whatever's behind you looks about like that.
Yeah.
It's a nice color.
I did all that.
That's funny.
So I painted all day Friday. Been doing a lot of cooking. So what is today? Today's Sunday.
Today's Sunday.
Mm-hmm. So all day Saturday, I did shiplap in my neighbor's house in their master bedroom. We did an entire 16-foot wall.
Your neighbor's house or your new house or was it your neighbor's old house or your? I'm still confused by your guys.
It's all the same, right?
Your swingers neighborhood that just decides to change houses whenever.
Musical houses.
It's the guy that used to live in my house that I live in now, who now lives across the street.
Gotcha.
Maybe we should know his name because we talk about him so much.
It's Brian.
Okay.
Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah. Brian. What's going on, Brian?
Ever since the
shout out, Brian.
Ever since the beginning of my Instagram, he's always that guy that's kind of in the background in my
shop.
Wait,
is he the one that has the Instagram for the?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did the 3D printing and stuff for a while.
Right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And then he kind of flopped.
He just got off of it. Away from it.
It's like I got bored.
Yeah, really did. So we went over his house, did the shiplap in there. It took us about 2 or 3 hours, but nothing. It was just a pretty straight wall. Figuring out where the butt joints went and how to kind of make that look good and stuff, because it was 16 foot was the first initial challenge, but we kind of got through that. I kind of imagine it like a hardwood floor would be, so I wanted to make sure that they didn't line up, but they were also had some type of pattern to them. But it turned out really well. Got that done. Cooked 2 Boston butts, which are pork shoulders, Jesse.
Very cool.
My girlfriend knew what that was, by the way.
Yeah.
We were listening to it like a couple hours ago on the way home we got a new couch, and I was like, I paused it and I was like, do you know what a Boston butt is? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, come on.
My brother messaged me and started giving me shit. He's like, how do you not know? This makes no sense. He's like, you know. And I was like, I didn't know. He's like, you're an idiot.
I also paused it and I was like, what kind of meat do they put on French dips? And she's like, tri-tip. And I'm like, thank you.
That's interesting.
Yeah. She's like, well, I guess they call them tri-tip dips. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Well, I put on 2 Boston butts last night about, I don't know, right before midnight. And I smoked them for 11 hours. Just nice. Real slow. Just let them roll. And
did you wake up in the middle of the night and check on them?
No.
Just let them go. Do you have
you guys got the cool triggers? Right? They can like have alarms on them, don't they?
Yeah, so I have that one too. Yeah. It's great.
Crazy.
Yeah, I got that Traeger. It's got the Wi-Fi with the alarms and stuff on it. So I set my first alarm for 165 internal temp. And once it hits that, I'll take them off, wrap them in foil. Because at that point, the pores have closed enough. It's not going to take in any more smoke. And you go ahead and get them done a little bit faster. So take them off, wrap them in foil, throw them back on to an internal tip about 195. And I try to time that out to where, people were coming over for dinner at 4. So I try to pull them at least by 2 o'clock. Yeah. If not a little bit earlier. Wrap them in a towel, put them in a cooler, and just let them sit.
I do the exact same way. Same process. It's the best.
And I've done that. I've let them sit for up to 6 hours before. You take them out, they're still piping hot, ready to go.
Now that we're on barbecue subject, we actually had a question. Geez. And the question was your favorite barbecue rub? Right?
Oh, mine is 100% Plowboys.
It's called Plowboys.
Yep, and it's called Yardbird.
That could be taken 2 different ways.
Get your mind out of the gutter,
I'm just saying Plowboys can be taken 2 different ways. But
think country, all right? We're in the South down
here. Whatever.
Corn country.
It's Yardbird. Look it up. Right. It's amazing. And I've actually had to force myself to stop using it because I was using it on everything for so long. And
the question, by the way, was by Stan Mudder. Anyway, Stanamadur.
Okay.
That was who asked the question. My favorite, well, I'll go for steak. For pork butts, I change it up a lot. I like the coffee rub from Traeger. It's a really good one. I've had a couple. I've tried Bad Luck's Barbecue, which is a very, very small, small business that sent me some, and that was fantastic. But my favorite steak rub is the Traeger Saskatchewan black peppered rub. It's the best. It's so freaking good.
I had that.
It's fantastic.
It sounds good.
It's so good.
I use that on steaks, actually. Steaks and burgers.
Yeah, it's good on. It's pretty much good on everything. Anything beef, it's fantastic on. And
I think the only seasoning we really use now is like a Montreal steak or whatever. It's like a McCormick or something.
Yeah, I've used it before.
It's pretty good
on steak. It's good.
Yeah. Do you guys have I don't know if it's like countrywide, but there's one called like Pappy seasoning. Have you used that?
I haven't.
No, it might be local. Like the sauce I sent you the other night.
Yeah. I like finding local barbecues and rubs and stuff. Every time I go back east, like the Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina, I always try to go find like local barbecues and I'll ship them or something.
Yeah. There's one here. Somebody, I don't remember or what company makes it, but it's called it's like Chico rub or something like that. But it's like made in the town Chico. It's pretty good. There's
a lady out here in Utah, Jesse, you would appreciate this. She is a Instagrammer, and the reason that I was just looking through barbecue posts, like hashtag barbecue something, whatever. I was like, I saw her something she was making, and I was like, this is amazing. And it was liked by Joe Rogan and a bunch of like huge blue checkmark people, and I was like, dang, this girl, she only has like 50,000 followers on Instagram, but she's massive. When it comes to people that actually know her, she has barbecues and seasonings now, and we found them at our Cal Ranch stores, which are it's a country store, and she has a bourbon maple barbecue sauce, which is fantastic. She has an apple jalapeno barbecue sauce, which is also fantastic, and then she has a peach barbecue sauce, which is amazing. But all 3 of them, I didn't even say what her name is. Her name's Hey Grill Hey. And so instead of Hey Girl Hey, it's Hey Grill Hey.
Funny.
And she's fantastic. She just announced she got her, she just got a TV or a TV show on the Food Network too, which is pretty cool. So she'll probably be blowing up even more.
Dude, some peach barbecue sauce on chicken thighs is amazing.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, very good.
So,
so favorite barbecue sauce.
oh, that seems a good one too. For me,
I feel like I'm odd man out here.
so
I'm like crap.
So you'll get there. Hey, you just sent us pictures of
Is
a tri-tip.
Worcestershire sauce good?
You sent us pictures of tri-tip this week. We were both proud. We both had tears in our eyes.
And a sauce neither one of you knew about.
Yeah, that's true. So my favorite, I love ribs. One of my favorite things to
me too.
And I love coating them in a bunch of different kinds of barbecue sauces. The one from Bad Luck's Barbecue that I loved was his pineapple barbecue sauce. And that was really, really good. It was different and it was really sweet. So I usually made my ribs with a lot of pepper and salt and stuff that wasn't full of sugar. And then I added that on and it really balanced it really well. Because you don't want it too sweet where it just tastes like straight sugar. I mean, you can, but I like a good balance between salty and sweet. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
And then that apple jalapeno from Hey Grill Hey is fantastic.
I'm gonna have to try that. That sounds good.
It's really good. So what's yours?
So I was having a discussion today because we were eating barbecue and I had some sauce out and everybody's like, man, this is amazing. I was like, yeah, this is my favorite one. I'd heard about it from guys that do barbecue on the circuit and, go through Memphis in May and all that. And it's a company. It's funny. I think they're based in like Ohio or something, but two of the sauces they make is called Tennessee Blues Hog and Tennessee Red Sauce. And Tennessee Blues Hog is a molasses based barbecue sauce and Tennessee Red Sauce is a vinegar based barbecue sauce.
It's a Carolina based. So the Carolinas, their barbecue sauces are almost not all, but a lot of vinegar. So when you
and mustard, right?
Yeah, and so it's very different than the sweet kind of barbecue sauce. It's like more tart and
Right. So I like what you're talking about, that sweet and tangy at the same time kind of thing. So I order both of those and mix them half and half.
Ooh.
And that's the number one sauce for ribs. That if I want to cook ribs and impress some people, that's what I use. It's amazing.
That sounds so good.
It comes in mason jars and mix them half and half and throw them on there. But it's good on everything.
Is that what you just text me? You did just text me a picture.
Yeah, I texted a picture of the barbecue seasoning that
the Plowboys.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
Plowboys.
Pictures of Plowboys.
Yeah, so you don't send me pictures of Plowboys. I appreciate it.
No, you got to be careful Googling that one.
Oh no, that's Meat Church, isn't it? Or is that Plowboys Barbecue is the actual thing? That looks very. Have you ever looked up Meat Church?
No.
Dude, that's another one. So I bought a bunch of them for my dad. Like you can buy a 6-pack of seasonings, and it's very similar logo. It's just a bunch of pigs doing different things. So one's called like the Gospel, and it's a pig dressed up like a preacher on it. It's amazing, but the guy is sponsored by Traeger, so his social media stuff's amazing. His name's Matt Pittman, I think. But I'll send you his stuff. And Meat Church is awesome. They have a really cool company.
You're talking about Carolina sauce. I did wings with a buddy of mine came over and we did some wings this afternoon in interim before the barbecue was ready. And he did him some and he brought some Carolina barbecue sauce as a mustard and vinegar base, and they were excellent on wings.
That's great. I want to smoke more wings. I love wings, and I love like legs, chicken. I love chicken. So we smoked. I went camping this last weekend, or this weekend, because we're filming on Memorial Day weekend. So I just went camping. It was fantastic, and I have the Traeger Ranger, so I can smoke when I'm out camping. And we did a tri-tip, which was really good. So we did that one day. And then the next day I did a teriyaki chicken that we let marinate forever. And then I threw it on and then I seasoned it after it was marinating. Oh, dude, it was so good. It was very tasty. Nice. I love being able to be out there and have real good food, not just hot dogs.
Right.
Hot dogs over a fire. It's still good. Sure. But actually being able to have good barbecue out in the middle of the mountains is amazing.
Yeah. We used to do like a Dutch oven style thing, but not in a Dutch oven. Like wrap it. I think it was like may have been like a brisket or a tri-tip or something, but like wrap it up in tin foil with a bunch of butter and like vegetables and stuff. And then like get tons of coals in the fire and then dig a hole bury it, and then pack coals around it, and then go do whatever you want for like the whole day, and then come back at dinner, and it would be amazing.
Yeah. See, what you're talking about, Brandon, is actually camping food and camping cooking. What Jesse is talking about is called glamping.
And it's amazing.
We took our RV with the Traeger.
I remodeled a trailer
My
for a
phone
reason.
told me when it was done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't. Come on, bro. I'm not like that. Plus, you don't have Wi-Fi out there. Middle of nowhere. Yeah, I say middle of nowhere.
That would be ridiculous, Brandon.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, get over it. First of all,
middle of nowhere with pavement.
Oh, okay. So you're saying you wouldn't like ribs when you're out camping, Jesse? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I'm just saying what Brandon's talking about is actually campfire cooking.
No, we like the campfire cooking where you can do, I forget what they call it, but you put potatoes and same thing in the foil like pans that you have the top for, and you just have like the stems and you just lay it in the fire. Those are pretty good too. I forget what they're called.
We always do baked potatoes like that when we deer hunt. We'll build a fire, or the night before, and then the next morning there'll be hot coals. We'll just wrap up potatoes and throw them in the coals and go hunt. And then come back at the end of the day, and the potatoes will be good to go.
That's awesome.
You never could really eat the skin. The skin would be burned, but the inside of the potato would be cooked perfect.
That's great. Do you go hunting quite like every year?
I used to hunt before kids, probably 3 or 4 days a week throughout the entire season, and was many seasons as I possibly could hunt, whether it was deer, dove, whatever. I hunted everything, fished as well. And then after kids came and woodworking came, that slowed down. But over the last 2 years, I've gotten where I've had enough time now. My kids are old enough now that my kids go with me, and we're back to deer hunting and stuff again. And I've loved it so much being back to it. We got bow season coming up the end of this month.
Yeah.
I think it's the end of this month. And we'll be out there open a day.
That's awesome. We went, where you go camping, where we just went camping, we go a bunch of places. Where we just went camping is only 15 miles from my house. It's very close. I mean, we just go up one of the canyons and we find some good spots, and there's a stream, all this stuff. And then you can go off-roading very far, way deep in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. So that's what we did with my truck. And my father-in-law and I went, and we saw the biggest bull moose in the entire. Dude, it was huge, and it was just galloping across the side of the mountain. And we were just talking 2 minutes before.
Moose?
It was a moose.
I didn't know you guys had moose there.
No, Utah's moose.
We have elk.
We have lots of elk. We have lots of moose.
Yeah, they got moose too.
Yeah, so we were just talking about it because my father-in-law, he moved from California a year and a half ago, and he's never seen a moose, and he's gone up to Yellowstone, the Tetons, where they have abundance of moose. Never seen a moose. And so I'm driving. He just says, "Man, I really wish we'd see a moose." And like in 2 minutes, I slam on the brakes and I just yelled, "Moose, moose!" And it's just running across. And we were able to get out and take pictures. And the thing was huge, just a huge rack. And man, I would love to go hunting. I'm gonna fly out there and just tag along with you, Jesse, and just let you hunt.
Actually, no, you're not. I'm gonna fly out there.
That's fine.
And
That's fine.
We're gonna go elk hunting.
That's
fine. We're gonna go moose hunting.
I'm good with that as long as you're willing to pay. I wasn't gonna pay the out-of-state bill for the tag, dude. That was the reason I was like, I'll go out there, I'll enjoy myself, just follow along. But if you want to come out and pay for a tag, an out-of-state tag, go ahead. It is one of the best hunting. So
I will be setting that up in the next couple of years for sure.
If you do, that'd be great. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna come out there. I want to do some elk hunting.
Brandon, come too. We'll do a out in the woods podcast. Just record it on our phones or something. That'd be fun.
I like it. Now, Brandon's a fisherman. You don't do much hunting though, right?
You did when I was a kid. I would. It's just where I live is just. The problem is everybody hunts, and there's not a whole lot of public land. So unless you know somebody with land, it's kind of horrible.
Yeah. That's kind of the same here.
It's all blacktail out here, so they're all real nocturnal. And hunting season is like after the rut, and it's still hot as heck. So it's like, good luck. I mean, a lot of my friends still get deer, but like I know a lot of them that'll go a lot during the whole season and not get one. So it's like I don't enjoy it that much to do, work at it that hard. So that's why I got a bow. I was actually going to get into bow hunting, but I'm lazy, so.
I got a bow, and then I then ended up selling it like 2-3 months later. I just bought a used one. And
I bought a new one, and I actually just went and shot the other day, but that was the first time in like a year and a half.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's just I didn't use. I bought it. I used it for a while. I went with my buddy up in Idaho. Went hunting with him, which was a lot of fun. We went for 2 days, and he went through and I didn't have a tag. I just tagged along and kind of did some filming and stuff, and it was fun. And so I ended up buying one. Then I was shooting in my backyard and I loved it. But then everything happens, and it was kind of when I was transitioning into full time which takes up a lot of time. And so I was trying to balance and say, okay, what do I need to cut out, and what's taking up space I can just sell and kind of move on.
Yeah, that's basically how it is for me. It's like every year I'm like, all right, I'm going to go hunting this year. And then it comes and I'm like, man, I got so much other stuff to do. Yeah. It's like, it would be nice.
I'm going to get another beer.
When it goes to bow hunting though, man, I always loved hunting, and we always just had, gun hunting and stuff.
Right.
With rifles.
That's all I ever did too.
And we kind of moved into muzzle loader, and then finally I got a bow, and then I got a little bit nicer bow. And as soon as I stepped out in the woods bow hunting, I fell in love with it. I was like, it's something that I already did like. Now I love it. I loved bow hunting. I love shooting my bow. I get my bow out and shoot it all the time. So I think I'm going to probably do a video and build a bow target. Because I got a field in my backyard. It's like a perfect lane. There's nobody around that I can go back there and shoot my bow.
Nice.
So I think I'm going to build a target here pretty soon and do a video and a build on it.
So have you hunted with your bow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I killed a 9-pointer last year during bow season with it.
Nice.
And then later in the year, it's actually the last day of hunting season. I took my daughter with me and we killed a doe.
Yeah,
it was her first time ever going out. Yeah,
that's cool.
And you eat
the only
meat, right?
deer I ever shot, I actually shot 2 at the same time, basically, because I had 2 tags, and I went out, and I wasn't even really hunting. I was actually more doing scouting, and we went to my dad's friend's house, which he lives right on the edge of a bunch of public land, surprisingly, or used to. It's not alive anymore, but this was when I was 15, 16 years old, and we were driving, and we seen a spike right on the side of the road, and I was like, that's weird. And it was this way back dirt road, and he's just sitting there, and I'm like,
and the spike is just 2, right? It's a
one on each side. Yeah, you can't shoot those. It has to be a fork.
Just people that don't know hunting.
Right. Yeah, so it has to be a fork, and I was like, well, that's interesting. And he was just sitting there, and you know how I don't know if you've seen those shows, the Wild Justice shows and stuff, or the wild the game, the rangers and stuff will set out robotic deer to try to catch poachers and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, and he wasn't moving, and we stopped, and I get out of the car, and I'm looking at him, and he never moved, and he was just twitching his tail and moving his head. I'm like, these assholes. And I wasn't gonna shoot it anyway, but I was trying to I almost was trying to scare it. So I went up, and I was like, well, a lot of times during that part of the year they're usually with other bucks, and oddly enough. And so I went up and I came back down on the 4-wheeler, and he was still there. And I was like, no way. And so I get off with my gun, expecting a ranger to come out or something. And then he takes off, and I was like, oh, that was weird. And then this huge 4-point jumps out of the brush, right behind him. And I'm like, oh my God. And Joe goes over this little hill. And then I go up to the top of the hill, look over, and he's just standing out in the field staring at me. I'm like, oh yeah, you're dead. So I got that one. And then another forkhorn had jumped out when I shot him. And this one jumped out and went across the dirt road a ways, and I followed him and got him too. And that was the only 2 deer I've ever shot.
So you have 2 tags. You had 2 tags then.
Yeah. I don't know about now, but then you could have 2 tags per season.
That's awesome. Yeah. So did you harvest the meat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who doesn't. That's the thing, is if you're gonna hunt, dude.
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
I've known some guys that do land management stuff, and they'll donate the meat to different in need people and stuff.
Right.
So
well, as long as it's getting used,
process and donate it and stuff to a good cause.
As long as they're just not leaving it out there.
Yeah. No.
Although, you say, you listen to that Meat Eater podcast and stuff, and on Joe Rogan, apparently there's a lot of the areas of the country where they're getting that whatever disease they have, or eats their flesh and stuff.
Tennessee's one of them.
Oh,
yeah, and it's
chronic wasting disease, right?
Yeah. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So growing up, we had, I don't know, probably 250 acres that backed up back to back with another 1,000 acres of public land. And when I was growing up, we stayed out there. I mean, most of all my summers and the winters and everything else. just out in the mountains and a little bit, I don't know, probably 3 hours east of Nashville, Tennessee. And my grandfather bought this old school bus, and we took the school bus and took all the seats out of it. And then we built bunk beds out of 2x4s and plywood and put in 3 sets of bunk beds in the back. Then we built like a table and we ran electricity through it and had a wood burning stove inside of it. And we just drove it up there and parked it. And we used that as a camper, and it was awesome. That was like one of my best memories.
If you would have YouTubed that back in the day, you'd been famous. You'd been the first one, man.
That was back before cell phones. I didn't even have a pager back then.
Right.
So
that's when
YouTube wasn't a thing.
You were using typewriters still. We know. We've talked about this.
I remember as a kid driving, and we go to the neighbor's house who made moonshine in the hills, and
you were friends with your neighbor. That's strange.
He didn't know his social security number. I mean, he grew tobacco, raised animals, and he'd never even been out of the county in his entire life. But we would go to his house and use his phone to call back to our house and just check in, every day or two, because we didn't have phones or anything.
That's cool. My dad was from Oklahoma, and my grandpa, I think he was like adopted. He had no idea when his birthday was.
Yeah.
What? Like back, That's he was crazy. Like born like not in a hospital too, and like one of my dad's uncles was born at home, and like it's just how it is back there. Was back there.
Yeah,
like, that's insane.
Dude, that's nuts. So wait, I'm gonna just pick on something. I'm not judging whatsoever. Okay, Jesse, but you said tobacco. Yeah, that's how you said it. Is that how you say it? Tobacco?
At least you didn't say backy.
I almost said backer.
Backer.
Tobacco. Is that how you guys say it though? Tobacco?
Yeah, tobacco.
Oh, that's very interesting. Tobacco is what
you're trying to say. Tobacco.
No, tobacco. Though tobacco. That's this is I don't know, maybe it's just West Coast. It's funny the differences you'll hear whenever you go.
I caught my mom today in the kitchen talking about how she needed to wash the dishes.
Yep.
My mom says wash.
Yeah, my wife's grandma says wash all the time. And I'm like,
my grandma said wash too. So does my aunt. My mom listens to this too. So mom, stop.
That's funny. Well, in Utah, we have this weird thing where Utahns, they don't say
Utahns.
Yeah, that's what it was. We are Utahns.
I thought they were just Mormons.
No, Utahns, like people in Utah. Utahns,
right?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But Utahns, they don't say T's and like anything. So there's a city called Layton, but they don't say the T, so it's just Layton, and they just skip over T's and like oh yeah, look at the mountains, and there's no T's in it. They don't emphasize the T's at all in anything they say. It's so weird, but it's the only really you don't say mountains. The T's in anything.
Huh? Right. I say mountains too.
Mountains though, but it's like mountains.
No,
you still say the thing. They skip over everything, even the names of their cities. Layton. It's like no, it's Layton. It's Layton.
I think you're just better expressed than most people because I don't do that.
What? No, it's funny because when you go back east, they have like when I went to Chicago, they were saying things, and I'm like, it's a weird way to say that, Mister.
Yeah,
tobacco.
Right. Yeah. My dad still had his kind of accent from Oklahoma, even though he came out here in like the 70s. He still said like out yonder, and he said winder.
Winder?
Yeah, instead of window, winder.
Oh, really?
Or window.
Mine's really messed up because my grandfather's French Canadian, so his first language is French, and then he learned English, and my dad's Canadian. And my I was the second person in my entire family on my dad's side ever born in the United States. And so when they moved down here and then I was born in Nashville, he married my mom, who's from like Deep Woods, Tennessee. So it's this hilarious mix of stuff. And I have no idea how to talk. I don't even know how to speak.
What are you?
My grandfather's been here for 40 years and still has a tough time with English.
Well, my aunt came over from Germany and married my uncle when I was like 10. And she still has a super heavy accent.
Yeah.
There's still stuff she can't really say. She says like calendar instead of calendar. We make fun of her all the time.
Well, we got a few questions. We'll go over.
I was about to say we should probably talk about woodworking at some point.
Hey, we did for the first half. The first half, and then it was basically a barbecue podcast.
It was like the first quarter.
I'm great with it.
Yeah. So we had one. We kind of covered this last week. Eddie Ortiz 7. what are the best tools for someone to get when they are barely starting out? We kind of went over it last week, but we can quickly review it real quick.
Yeah. I'm going to go a good set of cordless power tools, pocket hole jig, and of course, I'm still big on the track saw thing, just because I think that in a lot of situations you could use it instead of a table saw and be a pretty versatile tool. Mm-hmm. But that and a miter saw, and you can pretty much get through a lot of the bills that you need to. And you can replace those depending on, like, you could just use a circular saw that comes in a cordless set with a good straight edge.
Well, either that or you could make your own track saw or whatever.
That. I think that's what I have.
That's exactly what I used for years. I think I have a video on it. I use it both for a router and my circular saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say if you're just barely starting out and they're looking at you have zero tools, kind of what we talked about last week. If you have a drill, a circular saw, and a pocket hole jig, you can at least get started. And you can kind of go through the process and get addicted. That's what happened to me. I just started building coffee tables and I got addicted to building. So I think those three things. And then I agree with you on if you're starting to get more and more into it, a miter saw and track saw. I see the benefits of it, and I should probably have one. It just didn't come to me.
Yeah,
and so I don't have that one. But
yeah, I just went so long without it. I don't know. And I was never a big advocate of it until I got one, and then I got one. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is a lifesaver. I mean, it really is.
Gotta have a radial arm saw.
I had a radial arm saw before my miter saw.
Dude, every old woodworker back in the day had a radial arm.
That's because Norm Abram was rocking the heck out of that thing, dude.
My grandpa had one. My dad had one. They're sketchiest thing you ever seen. Especially when you turn it sideways and try to rip with it. Like, yeah, it's horrible. That's like the first power tool I used when I was a kid, though, or first saw. I remember like using that in my grandpa's shop.
We did get someone just telling us Jardinio's Interior. God, I suck at names, everybody, so don't judge me. They just said, just saying, you guys are doing amazing work, which is kind of like, hey, maybe it's one of those 30 people watching the YouTube channel. That's what I like right there.
Yeah. Dedication.
We answered the steak rub one, which is nice. So this one's specific to me because my questions, but Lazy Lab Acres, he asked me what was the hardest adjustment from leaving the law enforcement lifestyle, and I'm about to take the same plunge. So I was actually messaging him yesterday or today about it, and yeah, it's a huge change, man. I was doing all this woodworking and content stuff and being a law enforcement officer. And so I had no breaks ever,
Oh, that's Joe.
Yeah, that's Joe. Yeah.
Oh, the Blue Line Woodworks guy.
Yep. Yeah. So he's thinking about.
I was like, I know that name.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, look it up. I'm like, oh,
Joe's he's a really good guy.
Yeah, he's super cool. He has a YouTube channel also.
Yep. Yeah. And so he's thinking about going full time into woodworking. And so, but anyway, I was balancing doing the 410s plus doing all this stuff, so I was crazy busy all the time. One thing that actually was a good change was when I went over, I felt like I wasn't doing enough at first. Like I was always working, but I didn't feel like I was, I don't know, since I had 40 extra hours a week that I could actually do stuff, and I felt like I had so much time that I wasn't working enough, so I was overworking myself. And my wife basically had to tell me, you need to pull it back because you're actually working way more than you did before because you're working nonstop at home 24/7. I'd wake up at 5, start working, and then not go to bed till really late. And it didn't really help. And now I've been able to find that balance. So finding a balance was a big struggle. And then as a law enforcement officer, there's a lot of different things that you don't get rid of. Like always going into restaurants and looking for exits, stuff like that. That will never change. I don't think throughout my entire life, it'll never change. So there's a lot of adjustments, but different stresses come on. I think at this time of our country, I think if you did leave law enforcement, you'd have a big relief in a lot of ways. And then you're going to get other stresses, especially if you're doing client builds, which is talking to him. That's what he's mostly going to be doing is client builds.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have a whole different stress level of, hey, I got to get more clients constantly, right? You're always looking for more clients.
Yeah.
And
that's why I didn't want to go full time. That was my biggest fear for sure.
Yeah. It's
like
that
a consistency.
Fear. Yeah. And for me, I wouldn't go full time until I knew I had something steady. And so I was able to get sponsors on board that made me, more comfortable enough where I felt like taking that plunge wasn't as big of a risk. And so that was a big thing for me. But if you're going full clients, man, you're going to be getting rid of a lot of law enforcement and stigma stuff pressure wise, but you're also gaining a ton of extra pressure because it all falls on your shoulders. You're not getting that steady paycheck. So, but I think that's a big plunge, and thank you for your service, man. We appreciate it. Especially in this time of our country. So,
yeah.
And I'm sure that taking that pledge for anybody, just going from that certain paycheck every day to that uncertainty, that's got to be tough. I got a lot of respect for every person who does it, especially law enforcement, but anybody who takes that plunge, that's got to be tough, and got to be smart and have good work ethic, which a lot of people on our platform does, I think, for the most part. So
I think anybody that bets on themselves, I have a lot of respect for. Doesn't matter what you're doing, but if you say, hey, I'm going to be able to do this because I'm going to put in the sweat equity, I'm going to freaking work my butt off to make my dream happen, I have so much respect for you, no matter what it
Gotta
is.
hustle.
You know?
Yeah. It's definitely a lot of work, no matter which area you go into or which way you come at it. Like I didn't want to do client builds, but I'm trying to go, on my time off. I guess it's like another full-time job basically, but definitely trying to dive into the whole content thing. And like somebody, the guy that I got that motor from for my truck, his boss actually was like, I listened to your guys' podcast. It's really good. I'm like, what? You listen? That's weird. He's like in his 60s, like older hot rod guy. He's super cool.
Oh,
and
awesome.
he was like, I really want to do something like that here. I'm like, that'd be interesting. And then he's like, yeah, if you get us any like pointers or anything, that'd be awesome. And I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of more work than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the podcast, but they want to do like, all kinds of content stuff too, like Instagram.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I've been doing this for years. It's not like I just started a week or two ago.
Yeah.
It's easier for people to see like I'm not like super successful, obviously, but like the work that's been put in is not there. They just see the numbers and
well, when you say you make money off YouTube, people are just like, you just throw up videos and you get paid for it,
right?
And it's like, not how it works,
really,
man.
No, even on that little sandpaper stage, because I ended up having to edit all that. Usually I send it out to Nick to edit, but I did it too late, and he didn't have time to do it, so I had to do it all. I mean, I probably got in between building, filming, and editing that thing, it was like 3 full days at least, like not regular days, like 10-12 hour days. And that's just a little project.
I definitely do this because I like it, not because I make a lot of money from it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I think if I broke down my hourly wage in woodworking, I think it'd be probably about 50 cents an hour.
McDonald's makes more for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it. We're hitting an hour, so that's good.
Yeah, and I got a brisket to cook.
What?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, we will probably have barbecue talk every episode. So if you're looking for a barbecue, this is also the podcast. So we're gonna have a spinoff podcast called Go Smoke Something, and then we'll have another podcast off of that also has to do with smoking. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you follow us on YouTube for the video form. So sometimes you don't get everything, our facial expressions and what we're talking about as much. It does help. And then make sure you subscribe, like, comment on all the podcast platforms. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Go
See you
build
next
something.
time.